وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأطيعوا الرسول لعلكم ترحمون.
Establish prayer and pay zakah, and obey the messenger, so that mercy may be shown to you.
لا تحسبن الذين كفروا معجزين في الأرض ومأواهم النار ولبئس المصير.
Do not even imagine that those who disbelieve can render Allah powerless in the land. Their abode is the fire. What an evil abode!
يا أيها الذين آمنوا ليستأذنكم الذين ملكت أيمانكم والذين لم يبلغوا الحلم منكم 3 مرات من قبل صلاة الفجر وحين تضعون ثيابكم من الظهيرة ومن بعد صلاة العشاء 3 عورات لكم ليس عليكم ولا عليهم جناح بعدهن طوافون عليكم بعضكم على بعض كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات والله عليم حكيم.
Believers, at 3 times let those whom your right hand possess and those of your children who have not yet reached puberty ask leave of you before entering your quarters, before the morning prayer, and when you take off your clothes at noon, and after the night prayer. These are the 3 times of privacy for you. If they come to you at other times, then there is no sin for them nor for you have to visit one another frequently. Thus does Allah clearly explain His directives to you. Allah is all-knowing, all-wise.
85. From here again, the commandments for social life are being resumed. It is just possible that this portion of Surah An-Nur was revealed at a later date. 86. According to the majority of commentators and jurists, this refers to both male and female slaves. Ibn Umar and Mujahid, however, have expressed the opinion that it refers to the male slaves only. But in view of the commandment that follows, there appears to be no reason for making this distinction. Violation of one's privacy by his children is as undesirable as by his female slaves. All jurists agree that the commandment given in this verse is applicable both to the minor and to the grown-up slaves. 87. Another translation can be, who have not yet reached the age of seeing wet dreams. From this the jurists have deduced the principle that in case of boys puberty starts when they begin having nocturnal emissions. But the translation that we have adopted is preferable because the injunction is meant both for boys and for girls. If nocturnal emission is taken as the sign of attaining puberty, the injunction would be confined to boys only, because in the case of girls it is the menstrual discharge, and not nocturnal emission, which marks the beginning of puberty. In our opinion, the intention is that the children of the house should follow this procedure till the time that they become sex conscious. After they have become sex conscious, they have to follow the injunction that follows. 88. Literally, aurat is a place of danger and trouble. It also means a private part of the body which one would not like to expose before others, and something which is not fully secured. All these meanings are close to each other and all are implied in the meaning of this verse. The verse means to say that these are your times of privacy when you are either alone or with your wives in a state when it is not proper for your children and servants to come in to see you unannounced. Therefore, they should be instructed that they must take your permission before coming in to see you in your places of privacy at these 3 times. 89. That is, at other times than these, there is no restriction on the entry of minor children and slaves in your private rooms without permission. If on such an occasion you are not properly dressed and they enter without permission, you will have no right to take them to task. For in that case, it will be your own folly to have kept yourself in an improper state at a time when you should have been properly dressed for the day's business. However, if they enter without permission during the times of privacy, the blame will lie with them provided they have been taught the necessary etiquette. 90. This is the reason for the general permission for children and slaves to come without permission at other times than those mentioned above. This throws light on a fundamental fiqh principle that every religious injunction is based on some wisdom or good reason, whether it has been explained or not.
وَإِذَا بَلَغَ الْأَطْفَالُ مِنكُمُ الْحُلُمَ فَلْيَسْتَأْذِنُوا كَمَا اسْتَأْذَنَ الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِهِمْ كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ آيَاتِهِ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ.
And when your children attain puberty, let them ask leave to come to you like their elders used to ask leave. Thus does Allah clearly explain to you His signs. He is all-knowing, all-wise.
91. That is, when they have reached the age of puberty. As has been explained in En. 87 above, the signs of puberty in the case of boys and girls are nocturnal emission and menstrual discharge respectively. There is, however, a difference of opinion among the jurists regarding the beginning of puberty in those boys and girls who for some reason do not show these physical signs for an unduly long time. According to Imam Shafi'i, Imam Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad and Imam Ahmad, a boy or a girl of 15 years will be considered to have attained puberty, and a saying of Imam Abu Hanifa also supports this view. But the well-known view of Imam Abu Hanifa is that in such cases the age of puberty will be 17 years for girls and 18 years for boys. Both these opinions are the result of juristic reasoning and neither is based on any injunction of the Quran or Sunnah. It is therefore not necessary that the age limits of 15 or 18 years be accepted as marking the beginning of puberty everywhere in the world in abnormal cases. In different countries and ages there are different conditions of physical development and growth. The age of puberty in a certain country can be determined by means of the law of averages in normal cases. As for abnormal cases, the mean difference of ages may be added to the upper age limit to determine the age of puberty. For instance, if in a country, the minimum and maximum ages for nocturnal discharge are normally 12 and 15 years respectively, the mean difference of 1.5 years may be added to the maximum limit of 15 years to determine the beginning of puberty for abnormal cases. The same principle can be used by the legal experts of various countries to fix the age of puberty keeping in view their peculiar local conditions. There is a tradition quoted from Ibn Umar in support of the age of 15 years for puberty. He says, I was 14, when I presented myself before the Prophet, peace be upon him, to ask his permission to join the Battle of Uhud, but he declined permission. Then on the occasion of the Battle of the Trench, when I was 15, I was again presented and he permitted me to join. Sihah Sita, Musnad Ahmad. This tradition, however, does not stand scrutiny for the following two reasons. A. The Battle of Uhud took place in Shawwal, 3 AH, and the Battle of the Trench in Shawwal, 5 AH. According to Ibn Ishaq, and in Zilqad, 5 AH. According to Ibn Sa'd, there is an interval of 2 years or more between the two events. Now if Ibn Umar was 14 at the time of the Battle of Uhud, he could not be 15 at the time of the Battle of the Trench. It may be that he mentioned 14 years for 13 years and 11 months and 15 years for 15 years and 11 months. B. It is a different thing to be regarded as an adult for the purposes of war and quite different to be legally adult for social affairs. They are not necessarily interconnected. Therefore the correct view is that the age of 15 for an abnormal boy has been fixed on the basis of analogous and juristic reasoning and not on the basis of anything in the Quran or Sunnah.
والقواعد من النساء اللاتي لا يرجون نكاحا فليس عليهن جناح أن يضعن ثيابهن غير متبرجات بزينة وأن يستعففن خير لهن والله سميع عليم.
The women who are past their youth and can no longer bear children and do not look forward to marriage will incur no sin if they cast off their outer garments without displaying their adornment. But if they remain modest, that is still better for them. Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing.
Literally, this means those women who are no longer capable of bearing children, who no longer cherish sexual desires, and who cannot excite the passions of men. 93. Obviously it cannot mean that they should strip themselves naked. That is why all the jurists and commentators agree that it implies the outer garments which are used to hide the adornments as enjoined in Surah Al-Ahzab, Ayat 59. 94. Tabarruj is display and exhibitionism. When used with regard to a woman, it would imply the one who displays her charms and adornments before other men. The permission to lay aside the outer garments is being given to those old women who are no longer interested in personal embellishments and whose sex desires are gone. But if they still have a hidden desire smoldering in their hearts and an urge to display, they cannot avail of this permission.
ليس على الأعمى حرج ولا على الأعرج حرج ولا على المريض حرج ولا على أنفسكم أن تأكلوا من بيوتكم أو بيوت آبائكم أو بيوت أمهاتكم أو بيوت إخوانكم أو بيوت أخواتكم أو بيوت أعمامكم أو بيوت عماتكم أو بيوت أخوالكم أو بيوت خالاتكم أو ما ملكتم مفاتحه أو صديقكم ليس عليكم جناح أن تأكلوا جميعا أو أشتاتا فإذا دخلتم بيوتا فسلموا على أنفسكم تحية من عند الله مباركة طيبة كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تعقلون.
There is no blame on the blind, nor any blame on the lame, nor any blame on the sick, nor on yourselves that you eat in your own houses, or your father's houses, or your mother's houses, or your brother's houses, or the houses of your sisters, or the houses of your father's brothers, or the houses of your father's sisters, or in the houses of your mother's brothers, or in the houses of your mother's sisters, or in the houses whose keys you possess, or the house of a friend. There is no blame if you eat together or separately, but when you enter such houses, greet each other with the salutation appointed by Allah, a salutation that is blessed and good. Thus does Allah expound His signs to you in order that you will act with understanding.
95. Three things are necessary to understand this verse. Sad face. A. The verse consists of two parts. The first part relates to the sick, the lame, the blind and other handicapped people, and the second part to the other people. B. The moral teachings of the Quran had so thoroughly changed the Arab mind that they had become highly sensitive with regard to the distinction between the lawful and the unlawful. According to Ibn Abbas, when Allah commanded them not to devour one another's property by unlawful ways, Surah An-Nisa, Ayat 29, the people became unduly cautious and would not eat freely at each other's house, so much so that unless a formal invitation was extended, they considered it unlawful even to dine in the house of a relative or a friend. C. The mention of taking meals at your own houses only means to impress that taking meals at the house of a relative or a friend is just like taking meals at one's own house, where no permission is required. With these three things in mind, one can easily understand the meaning of the verse. It says that the handicapped person can have his meal anywhere and at any house in order to satisfy his hunger, because the society as a whole owes to him this privilege on account of his handicap. As for the other people, for them their own houses and the houses of the relatives mentioned in the verse are equally good for the purpose. No formal invitation or permission is needed to have the meals of their houses. In the absence of the master, if his wife or children offer something, it can be taken without hesitation. In this connection, it should be noted that the houses of one's children are just like one's own house, and the friends imply close friends. 96. In ancient Arabia, some tribes had the tradition that each member sat and ate separately. Eating together in one place was considered bad, as some Hindus do even today. On the contrary, some other tribes considered it bad to eat alone individually, so much so that they would even go without food if they did not have company at meals. This verse means to abolish such customs and restrictions.
إنما المؤمنون الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله وإذا كانوا معه على أمر جامع لم يذهبوا حتى يستأذنوه إن الذين يستأذنونك أولئك الذين يؤمنون بالله ورسوله فإذا استأذنوك لبعض شأنهم فأذن لمن شئت منهم واستغفر لهم الله إن الله غفور رحيم.
The true believers are only those who sincerely believe in Allah and His Messenger, and who, whenever they are with Him, on some common errand, they do not go away until they have asked leave of Him. Verily, those who ask leave of you, it is they who truly believe in Allah and His Messenger. So if they ask your leave in connection with some of their affairs, give leave to those whom you will, and ask Allah for forgiveness on their behalf. Surely, Allah is much forgiving, ever merciful.
97. These are the final instructions being given to tighten the discipline of the Muslim community and make it more organized than before. 98. This commandment is also applicable in respect of the successors of the Prophet, peace be upon him, after him and other leaders of the Muslims. When the Muslims are called upon to get together for a common cause, whether relating to war or peace, it is not permissible for them to retreat or disperse without due permission of the leader. 99. This contains a warning that it is absolutely unlawful to ask permission without any genuine need. 100. That is, it depends upon the Prophet or his successor after him to grant or not to grant permission even in case of a genuine need. If he deems the collective cause to be more important than the individual need of the person, he may refuse permission, and a believer will not mind it. 101. This again contains a warning. If in asking permission there is even a tinge of excuse making, or of placing individual interests above collective interests, it would be a sin. Therefore the Prophet or his successor should also pray for the forgiveness of the one whom he gives permission.
لا تجعلوا دعاء الرسول بينكم كدعاء بعضكم بعضا قد يعلم الله الذين يتسللون منكم لواذا فليحذر الذين يخالفون عن أمره أن تصيبهم فتنة أو يصيبهم عذاب أليم.
Muslims, do not make the calling of the Messenger among you as you're calling one another. Allah knows well those of you who surreptitiously steal away, taking shelter behind one another. Let those who go against the order of the Messenger beware lest a trial or severe punishment afflict them.
102. Dua means to summon, to pray and to call. Dua ar-Rasul, therefore, may mean summoning or praying by the Messenger or calling the Messenger. The verse can thus have three meanings which would all be equally correct. A. The Prophet's summons should not be treated as a common man's summons, for the Prophet's summon is of extraordinary importance, which you cannot ignore, because if you fail to respond to it, or feel hesitant about it, you will be doing so at the very risk of your faith. B. Do not consider the Prophet's prayer as a common man's prayer. If he is pleased with you and prays for you, there can be no greater good fortune for you. But if he is displeased with you and curses you, there can be no greater misfortune for you. C. Calling the Prophet should not be like calling among yourselves of each other. That is, you should not call or address the Prophet just as you call and address other people aloud by their names. You should have full respect for him, because the slightest disrespect in this regard will call for Allah's reckoning in the hereafter. Though all the three meanings quite fit in with the context, the first meaning is more in keeping with the theme which follows. Or address the Prophet just
ألا إن لله ما في السماوات والأرض قد يعلم ما أنتم عليه ويوم يرجعون إليه فينبئهم بما عملوا والله بكل شيء عليم.
Lo, whatsoever is in the heavens and the earth belongs to Allah. He is well aware of your ways. And the day when they will be returned to Him, He will tell them all what they did. Allah knows everything.